Hello. Yeah, I'm here. I showed up. You happy? Satisfied? All right, so we're going to go through some of the stuff from today. The stuff, I guess, that mattered. So out of the 9 hours, we're going to watch about 5 minutes. All right? All right. Amazing. Sounds good? Yeah, I'm here. I showed up. Yeah. All right. So, yeah, there's a couple of timestamps that Mo had sent me. I really almost wasn't going to come out for this stuff, but I guess we're here and we're, you know what? Okay, let me pull up the timestamps so we can check out some of today. I guess today was day 6. Possible discovery violation. Judge gets annoyed. Let's check it out. Let's see.
So I want to go to the phone number 772-713-9807 and then the phone number 954-248-9081. Do you know who either of those phone numbers belong to?
Objection. Outside of the scope of knowledge.
Excuse me.
And hearsay.
Can I see this? Sorry,
Amazing.
To answer the question, do you know who any of these phone numbers belong to?
I don't know. I'm the detective treated on this.
Excuse me. Yes. I'm sorry.
We'll stop it right there. All you know is what somebody told you.
Right.
So I don't want to get into any of that. I just want to know what your personal knowledge is. You don't have any personal investigation or knowledge as to who these phone numbers belong to?
No.
Okay. And you just know that the phone numbers that were provided to you?
Yes.
Okay, and the 772-713-9807, that's the same one that we discussed in States 28 that I published
Objection,
earlier.
Your Honor.
Oh.
He also testified that he never saw the document before, so it's outside of his scope of knowledge.
Sustained.
Okay.
Thank you.
So with regards to the 772-713,
Objection, Your Honor. She cannot leave it up there published.
Speaking objections,
She's
Your Honor.
tainting the
Excuse me.
jury.
Just take it down, please.
Yep. So 772-713-9807, that specific phone number. On that, I want to put in the 954-248-9081. Between 3:20 a.m. and 3:57 a.m., did you analyze the data for both of those phones?
Yes.
And if you could tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what this data is showing and explain it to them.
Sure. So the several slides like this in the report. So I'll talk a little bit more about this first one, just so everyone understands which the slide says. At the top, it says the analysis of the two phone numbers that conducting analysis for. It says the time period that I'm analyzing, so October 26, 2018, 3:20 a.m. to 3:57 a.m. And then the bulk of the slide is the graphic, is the map. You see all the green dots all over the place. Those are T-Mobile towers, like we talked about before. And then you'll see that certain towers are highlighted with a circle showing that those are the towers that saw the phone. Some circles are red, some circles are blue, some circles are red with a blue perimeter around them.
And so I'm going to kind of zoom in up here on this top section, the 3:20 a.m. If you could just show some of the red with blue circles and then the blue and red on that.
Yeah, so there's an example of a red circle, and what that means is that you can call it, since it's hard sometimes to remember numbers, we'll call it the red phone and the blue phone. So the red phone was seen by that tower, and that's why there's a red circle there. Here, the network saw the blue phone on that tower. Here's an example of a tower that it saw both.
Judge, may we approach?
Don't stop believing. So.
Thank you. Let the record reflect the jury stepped down. Counsel remain along with the defendant. Witnesses also present. The state's present. All right. So I don't understand. You're saying you didn't have this report?
So we got this report this morning while I was sitting in the courtroom. We don't have a printer here. So I asked the state to do the professional courtesy and give me a copy of the documents that she'd be using for this testimony. I'm trying to refer to what she's up to. She gave me 7 pages, by the way, which we started, and I was objecting to it being published because it still had the names in. She said, I'm not using that first page that I handed you, I'm using every other page. So I'm looking at the pages to try to go along with what she's showing, and I'm noticing she gave me a report from a whole other phone. All I'm asking is to give us the actual documents that she's showing the witness. And to say I emailed it to you while we were sitting in the courtroom is a little disingenuous because I don't have the printer to be able to print it out. So I just asked.
So you have the report, all 3 reports, but the reports that you have
Thanks, Brady.
that were generated to you have the phone number as well as a name that's identified that the phone is associated with.
No,
correct?
She redacted that.
No, a little bit, but you have the 3 reports.
Yes.
Discussing the phones, and you were given those reports some time ago, and yesterday your objection was made that it's conclusory as to whose phone it was, and I sustained that objection, told her to redact the name.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
And you're telling me you don't have the form of the reports with that redaction of these maps or whatever they are, with the names being redacted. Is that correct?
So I have it in email, but I'm asking for paper form so I can follow along.
Understood.
Yes, that's
right.
exactly.
Thank you. So can you make copies of those?
I printed, I found all of them. If there's one that she's missing, I'm happy to do so and pull them up again. I printed them all this morning for her.
Counselor's suggesting she doesn't have them, so I just want to make sure she has
Of
them.
course, and that's not a problem. So they've all been turned over via email. This is all in there. The original copies as well that were provided.
Counsel does not have the ability to print something out in the courtroom now. She's asking Counsel Ms. Raven, whether he's asking for a copy of it. Let's provide her a copy of it.
I'm happy to do so. I just need to know exactly which one she says she's missing and which one she says she has. I don't want to have to duplicate them if it's possible.
None of the documents she's published
So
since
just do
testimony started.
me a courtesy, just print all of them out.
No.
All right?
Can we take a break while the jury's on?
We can, but can we finish this first?
Oh, yes, I thought you were
So
finished.
you're gonna make copies of all the documents.
So she has in her hand some of them already. So I just want to make sure I don't double print them.
Just double
on that. So
Counsel's suggesting she doesn't have them.
Oh, what a mess. It's a mess.
Let's just print them all.
Okay, well, she does have some of them. Just want to make sure.
For the record,
I don't know, you're saying they're sent, Counsel's suggesting she hasn't received those things. I just want her to get copies of it. I don't want your constant back and forth. She has to, just give her the copies. That's it. It's easy. Just get her the copies. All right? Mr. Devins, you need a restroom break?
He ticked. Judge is ticked. Tired of dealing with this bullshit. You just give her the copies. I don't have to go back and forth. It's true, though. It's true. True.
All right, we're recessed. Thank you.
you gave me this last moment, so you're going off the time, Windows 7, and nothing on 987.
All right. And that's all we missed today. All right. Have a good night, guys. I'm out. Bye. I'm just kidding. Peace. All right. Next timestamp 152. Man, the submarine thing, I'm fascinated. The thing that has my interest is the submarine stuff right now. This trial's like, You know, some people love this trial. Some people say it's breathtaking and like amazing. I don't see the amazing in this trial yet, but I mean, it's still the beginning. Some people are like, this is riveting. Oh my God, this is crazy. Not really. The countdown is 7 hours for the air thing, which that's just a guesstimate. All right, let's see the next timestamp. 152. Okay.
Assistant State Attorneys. We're still waiting for the state to provide certain documents to Defense Counsel, i.e. some maps that were being used as demonstratives. Counsel sidebar suggested that she didn't have them. They were emailed to her, but she doesn't have hard copies, and Liberty wants the hard copies. So I had instructed State Attorney to go ahead and do that, provide those hard copies, and that's in the works because the printer and the quoting doesn't seem to be working. So while we're waiting on that, let's go back and talk about the discovery cutoff that counsel suggested he wants. What's the state's position on the discovery cutoff?
That if there is anything that counsel brings up with regards to the witness that suggests additional analysis or anything that can be done, that the state would do it on that.
So you're opposing.
Yes, right.
Anything else that you want to be heard on regarding this discovery cutoff?
No, you're right.
Anything the defense wants to be heard on?
Yes, Your Honor. I just started to do some research, and quite frankly, I've only candidly found a case. It's in the 4th DCA, but it concerns a civil matter, and it speaks of the need for a discovery cutoff to avoid the very term I used, ambush and surprise, and that when a party conducts itself in a way as to ambush there not to get the benefit of that. These trials, we understand, life goes on beyond trials. So the evidence that can be introduced into a trial should have some finite and determinable parameters. The notion that the state comes here and asks jurors to put somebody to death suggests that they have completed an investigation that warrants that co-signing, co-signature. To suggest that, okay, there are a lot of things that we could have done and we didn't do, and if you ask about it, we're going to go do it and introduce it while the proceedings ensue, is not only an ambush, but it's an insult to the process. They're saying that they have the evidence. Now, the state can get up there and say, hey, the defense is making some ridiculous cross-examination and we don't have everything because what we have is enough, which is when they bring an indictment of this nature, of any indictment, they're saying we have enough now, beyond a reasonable doubt. But what they cannot do is, as these proceedings go forward, continue to investigate and plug holes that we reveal to exist as the process goes on until this case goes to verdict. I'm not quite sure when this would end or how there is even a gatekeeping function of the court if there is no gate and there is no fence and there are no lines and no parameters of propriety. The state is making a representation by bringing this indictment that they are ready and they have proof beyond a reasonable doubt. And if that proof beyond a reasonable doubt also includes areas of investigation that were not pursued, then they should explain to a jury why it was not pursued and why the failure to pursue it does not undermine their case. They don't get to keep plugging holes as the proceedings go forward. And so, as the Fourth Circuit said, that is ambush. And the purpose of, the Fourth DCA said that is ambush. And the purpose of a discovery deadline is to avoid surprise, avoid ambush, and a party that engages in that ought not to get the benefit of it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hold on.
Just briefly, and I would mention that defense hasn't yet to provide any reciprocal discovery, but alluded to some yesterday, that they were looking at Instagram posts and everything that had happened as recently as this week, but yet they have provided nothing to the state. So if there's any deadline of any sort that needs to be imposed on both parties.
Thank you. Oh, Counsel, my understanding is that's the way it works, is that it's not Richardson violations apply to both sides, it doesn't apply just one side, it's deadlines apply to both sides.
You turn on the sound to talk at them from a distance? I don't understand. What's the point of that?
We apologize, the commissioners to say that I'm sorry.
I apologize.
What the fuck is that? Is that the printer?
What I'm saying is that the whatever obligations that are imposed would be applicable to both sides when there's a discovery cutoff or not. My thought is as to the discovery cutoff, you can keep investigating the case, whatever, however you feel fit, and you're more than welcome to do that. However, that doesn't mean that anything you find can be used at trial as in evidence. This thing with Mr. Moretti, where when I'm out of town on vacation, you're asking the defective detective what he's offering. I'm not really sure how it happened.
The pistol shrimp, man. I want a pistol shrimp. I want to figure out what kind of specialized tank I need just to get a pistol shrimp. And I want that shit in the backdrop of this my YouTube shit. We should do that. We should work on a pistol shrimp. I want a pistol shrimp in the backdrop. I want to get a pistol shrimp tank. I don't know if it needs like titanium glass or something. I want a pistol shrimp tank with pistol shrimps inside. That should be dope.
To continue and run this through another process.
Hey, Sophie.
And the defense doesn't know about it. The defense cross-examines Mr. Zellner, or Officer Zellner, and is not aware that he's asking questions about other programs, because his understanding is there isn't any other program. But you know there's another program, they have access to it, and they've done it. You just don't have the results. That seems to me to be what the council's talking about. And that seems to me to be a Richardson violation. There's discovery that's ongoing, you know about it, you're not telling them about it until we're here in court. So as far as Mr. Moretti is concerned, I think that's a discovery violation. And I'm finding it to be a discovery violation. I think the only way it can be cured is he's not going to testify about this second procedure that happened. That's not coming. Same thing. If you want to keep investigating a case, you can do it. You can find exculpatory information. You may change your mind as to how you proceed with the case, and I don't have a problem. You can investigate whatever you want to investigate. But as far as using new discovery that you're coming in, I think a cutoff needs to be happening, because this is what's going on. We're to have this. If you find something new, there's a whole, as counsel describes it, that then you try to find evidence to plug up the hole that's new discovery. The defense doesn't have an opportunity to depose the witness. The defense doesn't have an opportunity to do X, Y, and Z. And that's just not the way it should be. It shouldn't be done by surprise. So
it's clear this was not a new item. This was just this. All of the information was supposed to be identical.
You found it. You had a meeting with the detective in May when we're in hiatus because I'm on vacation. All right. You got a meeting with him in May after we picked a jury, and when we're ready to, or we're in the middle of jury selection. You picked it. You did it, and you said, "Well, he tells you." Or you ask him, do you have more, programs to go ahead and provide the information? And you find out there's another program, and he runs the program, does a different download with something other than Cellbrite, and therefore, you have more information. Don't make the defense aware of it. You hold that to yourself. You go ahead and put on a couple weeks of trial testimony, and then when it comes up after he cross-examination points something out, you bring it up and say, well, by the way, I told him, the detective in our pretrial meeting, it came up and he has the program and we can use it and we're doing it, all right? And, but you don't tell him about it. You just go ahead and hold it, keep it close to the vest yourself. Don't explain it to him. And then you say, when it comes up at trial, I say, what was it? I don't have the report yet. And that's why I didn't turn it over to him. It didn't disclose it's coming. It seems to me that's not what's supposed to happen. Not supposed to happen, period. That's a discovery violation. Okay? So, as far as the Detective Moretti, and whatever other form he used, that's not coming in.
Okay.
All right? That's the sanction. If you have other information, other discovery that's in the works, you better share it with them, because right now, if you don't have it, they're not aware of it now. It's not coming in unless there's something extraordinary that pops up. And just because, you find out they have additional capabilities and you want to go retest something, that's not extraordinary on my way of thinking. I'm not familiar with what the case law says. It just seems to me that this is a fundamental fairness thing. You have evidence, you need to turn it over to him. If you didn't turn it over to him, you can't use it. That's really the basic.
Understood, Your Honor. And so everything has been turned over. That was the only item of which there was additional investigation done on to see if there was any other information or anything else that came out. It was reported to me that it was identical in terms of the information that was done through Gray Key versus Celebrite on that. So defense counsel is attacking the veracity of the Celebrite program on that. So with regards to that, that's the only reason why that would even be brought up. But if I understand there, so we can move forward on that. I do want to address one other issue, more outside the presence of the jury. Counsel keeps objecting to publishing of items that are already in evidence and making speaking objections. So I just ask if Your Honor could address that specific issue, because the state can publish the items that are in evidence in the presentation of their case, and defense can object if there's something that has not been admitted or something to that effect. But in terms of the speaking objections and things like that, those are improper in front of the jury.
Thank you. All right, no speaking objections. All right.
Understood.
When do you expect this documentation to come over?
I think the printer just started working.
And I provided it to Ms. Liberty.
Do you have those, Ms. Liberty?
Yes, confirmed, Judge.
All right, you ready to proceed?
Yes, Your Honor.
Defense?
Yes, sir.
Bring the jury in.
Okay. Next timestamp, so the judge ain't happy. Next timestamp, we're gonna skip to the cross of the cell tower expert. Okay. Cross, yeah, I like it. What is it? Don't talk to me like that.
This is the attorneys, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, and our witness, Brittany Collins, remains on the stand. Ladies and gentlemen, I just had a nice lunch. When we broke, counsel had not yet had an opportunity to commence her cross-examination of this witness, so we're going to turn it over to the defense now. Counsel, if you're ready, you may proceed.
Thank you, Judge. Good afternoon, Agent Collins.
Good afternoon, Ms. Liberty.
Nice to see you in person. The last time we met, I think it was over Zoom.
Yes.
And last time we met, you actually told us you were working for the terrorism squad section of the FBI.
The transnational organized crime.
Okay, and that's where you learned the tax report stuff as a collateral duty, correct?
No, I started doing CAS as collateral duty when I was a special agent working gangs, partner state youth gang unit. And then I started doing terrorism investigations as my primary job, and continued doing CAS as a collateral duty. Then I did CAS full-time in DC as a supervisor. And then I got promoted to field supervisor, which is my current job. I do that exclusively.
So you're still supervising organized crime?
Yes.
So do do you do any of the CAS work with the organized crime?
No.
So, do you know, if you know, when's the last time you actually did a CAS report? An actual one for an actual case, when's the last time?
This would be, so I kept all the cases that I had done previously that had been adjudicated.
Okay.
I have not taken new cases since becoming a supervisor.
And just curious, from the last time we spoke, which was about a year ago to now, has anything changed with the technology that we should be aware of? Right. So, you had testified earlier talking about timing events, and you said with T-Mobile they call that true data, correct?
Time in advance is the principle where the network is able to calculate the distance from a tower. T-Mobile has a brand called TrueCall that they use to do that.
And who within T-Mobile would do the true call? Is that engineers? Who would know that information?
I don't know.
Don't know.
I'm going to put up your report. And looking at this band.
You want that?
Oh, I do.
24. Nah.
Thank you, Gary.
Oh, you talking about Melly? Melly. Okay. I thought you were talking about this guy on the witness.
All right, so this is your report. And we have this band here that kind of looks like, I know last time you called a hot dog, I like to call it like macaroni. But what does this band represent?
That is the timing advance band. So the engineering report, the TrueCall report from T-Mobile would say the distance from the tower is 0.24 miles. And so then, based on the timing advance measurement, which in 4G is 78 meters, that band is 78 meters deep, so it would be plus or minus 39 from 2.4 miles on either side.
So plus or minus, so it's an estimated distance, correct?
Yes.
All right. How does T-Mobile determine? I think you testified earlier that T-Mobile determines the distance by speed times time equals distance, correct?
Yes.
All right. And how fast does that signal travel?
At the speed of light.
All right. And you testified earlier that the speed of light is a static number, correct?
Yes.
However, I tried to do the math myself because I think I'm really smart. And one of the things that I came across when I was looking at the speed of light was that it could actually be a 3 times 10 to the 8th power meters per second, or the actual number is 2.99792458 times 10 to the 8th power. So if you know, is T-Mobile using the higher number of the 3 or using the actual number for the speed of light?
I don't know.
Okay. But you would agree when we're dealing with the meters per second, that could actually be a big distance, correct?
Yeah, so obviously the bigger the distance or the bigger the time, then the more significant the distance or the difference between those two numbers would be, yes.
And just curious, would that estimate, because we talk a lot about sectors and I'll get further into it, is it possible that that estimate would change what sector you're paying off of?
It's possible estimate would change the sector depending on.
Well, let me ask you this,
No.
because if you're dealing with a meter, if we're dealing with a meter, it's 3 feet, 3 inches, correct?
Yeah.
And if I'm off by 4 or 5 meters, we're talking about like 15 feet basically, correct? A little bit more than 15 feet.
Yeah, so I guess at some point there always has to be a transition from one sector to the other, because they have multiple sectors. So on the sector boundary, could that change? I guess, yeah, there's a possibility for that for sure.
Okay. Can you do this calculation yourself?
Which calculation?
The calculation of the speed times time equals distance. Can you do that math yourself
Yes, I can.
by hand? And would you include timestamps when you did that calculation?
So I didn't do that calculation for this report. I used the distance that was in the engineering records that T-Mobile gave it, produced. If they gave me the time, and we could use either 3.0 or 2.99, whatever the other number that you said was for the speed of light. I can do math if that was your question, but for this report, I did not do that math to produce these distances.
Okay, so can you tell me about any publication that would tell us about these expected accuracy of the timing advance records?
Nope.
All right. You haven't. So in your map, throughout your map, you talked about these bands and the distance from the tower. Is there any publications or any other data that you have that would explain how accurate that is?
No.
Do you know of any scientific testing outside of the legal community as to this whole cell tower stuff?
In the cellular community, because this is an important part of how cell phones work on a cellular network.
Okay.
But apart from that, no.
Okay. And you show that band as a plus or minus 10 miles, correct? Is that the width of it?
No, it's 78 meters.
All right. And could you break that down? How big would that be? If you were to compare, like, would that be a football field, 2 football fields?
No, it's less than a football field, slightly less than a football field.
So slightly less, like 3/4 of a football field?
Something like that.
And do you have any factual basis that would back that up?
Factual basis for what 78 meters is?
Yeah. No, well, the distance, the approximation of the span. Do you have anything that would back that up?
As to why it's 78 meters?
Yeah.
Because that's what based on how the technology works, based on 4G, that's what the timing advance is. I mean, that's just what it is.
So did T-Mobile tell you this in your training, or how did you figure it out?
Yeah, through my training experience, not T-Mobile specifically, but I mean, that's for regardless of whether it's T-Mobile or Verizon, Sprint, I mean, 4G technology, the timing advance is 78 meters.
All right. So is this an estimate that's being made by T-Mobile?
The distance?
Yeah.
The tower?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. So would you say that this is T-Mobile's best estimate and it's actually no more accurate than the call detail records themselves?
Well, so I think that in my opinion and experience, generally the timing advance is accurate. Call detail records are accurate. I guess I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
So I was just asking, it's T-Mobile's best estimate on this map, correct? Is it any different or any more or less accurate than the call data records, the CDR?
Well, the call detail records will have to be more accurate because they are less precise. So without a doubt, that is the sector that the phone chose. The timing advance measurement, in my experience, is accurate, but there are factors that could make it less accurate than the call detail records. For instance, we just talked about how the difference of whatever 3 100ths in math could make a difference in the calculation of distance. Earlier, we talked about how like multi-path signal bounces off multiple surfaces on the way to the phone or on the way from the phone back to the tower. That would increase the amount of time that it traveled, which would then also increase the distance. So although I think the timing advance is accurate, because it's more precise, there's the potential for it to be less accurate than call detail records.
So do you know of any publications or studies that would back up your opinion?
No.
Okay, so based on the information, you can't really tell the court precisely which locations these phones are following in, can you?
No, I mean, one of the limitations of cellular analysis is that you can only say a general area where the device would be at a given time.
All right. So even
Just
with the
across,
general
yeah.
analysis, all of the stuff that we've gone through for about 4 or 5 hours, at the end of the day, you can never give an exact location.
True.
All right. Can you tell us if a phone is on a highway?
So that depends. For one data point, no, you can't. You just general area where the phone would be. If you have multiple data points, you may be able to infer an opinion as to where you think it is. For instance, like in this case, if you see it traveling from east to west, the towers along 595, and you have time between those towers, you could infer what the speed would be and say, okay, I think it's likely that they're on a highway because I know the area, or they're on State Road 84 traveling at a certain speed. But from the cellular data alone, no, you can't tell if the phone is in a car, on the side of the road, on the road.
So can you tell if it's in the woods?
No,
How about another residence located in the area?
no,
And could you tell if somebody was walking around a car with the phone? Would you be able to tell that?
no.
Okay.
Water fountain in the courtroom.
Go back to your report. So it'd be your testimony that this phone, 9807, could be from here to here, correct?
Yes.
And what was the distance from here to here?
Oh, I don't know what the distance is from one end of that illustrated arm to the other.
Okay. Well, can you actually guarantee that the phone is in that arc?
That's what I'm interested in, Abby, is the submarine shit. That shit fascinates me. And I used my last notification for this. I figured I'd do a recap, but I'm not really too interested in this trial. I don't even know if we'll do daily updates. It might just be that we do if there's like a big witness or something one day, maybe we'll jump on and cover the witness. I think I'm still gonna do the probable cause affidavit, but I'm honestly glad. I'm glad and streamed this thing during the day and sat here for 9 hours. I'm glad. There were some people that are like, "Oh, you gave up." I'm so glad and sit here 9 hours for this today. I'm just keeping it real. There's just so much other shit we can do. I had a lot of fun. I thought it was interesting doing the submarine coverage earlier.
And why can't you guarantee that it's in this arc?
So that arc depicts the time in advance measurement with the time before, including the 78 years time in advance, which is all the resolution you can get. Why I can't guarantee that it's there as well. One, the sector itself. So that's an illustration. It's an approximation of the sector, right? Like talked earlier about it being a flashlight to illustrate the direction that the cell signal is going. If anyone drew a flashlight, we draw a cone or something that looks like this. But everyone who's used a flashlight knows that it's not actually
True, so data.
like a tube on paper towel. It's not actually just a tube, right? It's brightest here and it gets
But it was nice.
weaker.
It's true.
So,
Yeah.
although in this illustration there's
Amazing.
hard black arms that say this is the limit of the sector, that's not really the case. There's some bleed openings. So that's the first point, is that it could be, in this instance, potentially over here, potentially over here. Second instance is, as we talked about, if there was something that delayed the signal traveling from the tower to the phone or back, that would make the distance longer than where the phone actually is. So it's a depiction of the records. But with 100% accuracy to say that the phone has to be in this band, no, I can't say that 100%.
Okay. And I did switch the page, so we're looking at your page 12 of your report. And looking at this, can you tell the court if the phone is between these two bands at any given time?
I infer, in my opinion, yes, because it had to have been at some point in time between those two bands, because it was here at 350 or.
Artist said we should have watched the Young Thug's RICO case trial. Way more interesting. Is that still going on or it's over? I thought it was still going on, right? There's a lot of drama going on with that.
Somewhere within this area at 352, 58, and somewhere here at 350, 348. So to get from here to here, we had to be somewhere between them at some point.
But didn't you tell us earlier that you don't always necessarily connect to the tower closest to you as the one with the best signal? So could it be possible that this is actually the tower with the best signal and the phone is nowhere in that sector?
So this is from the engineering report. And so the engineering report had two measurements for this tower and sector, the 0.58 miles and the 1.16 miles. That engineering report does not, that's the network's perspective. So what I was talking about with the call detail records, where the phone measures the clearest, strongest signal, and then picks the tower or the antenna on the tower that offers the clearest, strongest signal, that's from the call detail records. The engineering reports is the network's perspective.
So where did you get the engineering reports from?
From T-Mobile.
So didn't you previously testify that Detective Moretti gave you these records?
Yes.
So did they come from Moretti or from T-Mobile?
From Detective Moretti.
All right.
From T-Mobile.
And so the engineering report, is it what Ms. Bradley, the state attorney, had put up previously, all these numbers and environments? Is that,
Yes.
Okay.
Damn. 5 months.
Do you double check that report?
5 months. What?
What do you mean?
Do you validate it? So you get this report with all these numbers. Do you have a system in place at the FBI that you could cross-reference this to make sure that the latitude and longitude and the distance is actually what it's saying it is?
No.
So, do you even know if it's credible?
Jack,
My
outside the scope.
Overruled. You can ask the question.
So, yeah, the accuracy of this report is like pinned on those records being accurate. In my experience, the records that we get from telecommunications providers are accurate, which is why this works.
Well, let me ask you. So, have you ever had an engineer come through on any of your cases, the 130 cases that you had, and have them validate the information that you got from T-Mobile, Sprint, or whatever carrier it is?
So, I've had cases where there was actually, no, not for me. I know of other cast assets who had cases where there was a red flag or a problem, and then we contacted the engineers and said, hey, there's something with that that's not making sense. We need to look more into this. But for me, no.
All right. Do you know of any instances in these records where a mistake or any oddity occurred?
No.
All right. So, and you already testified you did not request an engineer to assist you to review these records, correct?
Correct.
And you said that one of these bands would be a little less than 100 yards away?
Yes.
All right. I want to show you this engineering report that you're talking about. Okay. So there's a section on this engineering report that's labeled environment. All right, and it goes on to tell you, and I'm looking for, good thing I didn't do the cell tower analysis, it'd be a mess, so obviously I can't handle this modern technology, but you have a section in here called environment. I just want to find where it's at.
It's to the left.
Yeah, it's so small I can't even see it. But you know what I'm talking about when I talk about environment, correct?
Yes.
Do you rely on this?
No.
Why?
I don't know how it's calculated.
So, and it goes back to my other questioning. This document that's produced from T-Mobile, from their engineer, your engineering report, says that T-Mobile can tell you if a phone is outside, inside. So why do you rely on everything else in this document, but you won't rely on that column?
So I rely on the time in advance, I guess, just because I have, well, I think it really comes down to two things. One, because I understand it, right? I understand speed of light times time equals the distance. And two, because I've done that and I've been able to validate that through my real world experience. That's why I have confidence in the time in advance. When it comes to the environment and the latitude and longitude
Thank you, Blue.
coordinates and their associated confidence level, why don't I use that? Well, I didn't use them in this report because I don't know all the factors that go into calculating those. And I don't have real world experience validating those or disproving them to speak to them myself personally, whether they would be
So
exact.
you had previously testified that in your training you actually get invited out to different cellular companies, correct?
Yeah.
And did you get invited to T-Mobile?
Never been to T-Mobile.
Okay. Do you know if any of your past people went to T-Mobile?
I don't know.
Okay. Can you tell us how T-Mobile can tell if the phone is indoors?
Don't know.
Have you ever performed any testing to determine if a phone is indoors or outdoors based on the timing advance records from T-Mobile?
No.
And is there any way for you to verify that environment column? The environment estimate from T-Mobile?
Yeah, I mean, if we wanted to test it, we could coordinate something with T-Mobile, or I'm sure T-Mobile could test it, where they would use test phones and do things that people do with phones, calls, texts, data. They would look at the phones on their record and say, like, okay, here's our control loop, and here's what the data said, and here's where the phones actually were. So is there a way to do it? I'm sure that.
We were kind of just talking about a hypothetical, because
Right.
as far as you know, it's never happened.
Right.
Okay. So with the true call distance estimates, has T-Mobile ever shared the calculation with you or possibly other members of the cast team?
The calculation is the speed 3.0 or 2.997, whatever times the time. That's the calculation.
So have they shared that with you guys? Have you gone through to find out what exact number is, how they're coming up with these formulas, anything like that?
Yeah, that's that calculation for time in advance. Again, that's not unique to T-Mobile. That's how all phones have to function on cellular networks. They have to have time in advance measurements of. It's like we talk about multipliers and.
So it's just T-Mobile gives it to you. You have 100% trust in T-Mobile and its records, so you just get them and you go off of that, correct?
I plot the data from T-Mobile and do an analysis. I don't take anything for given as I'm doing my analysis.
But you don't know if the numbers are correct because you don't have an engineer validating or rechecking anything, do you? So
I'm relying on the accuracy of the records, yes.
all right. So basically, you're telling us that we're to trust an undisclosed calculation as being accurate.
An argument.
All right. And do you not have any of the measurements for the underlying true call data?
I don't think so. I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of columns on this engineering report. It's possible that something is buried there, but I don't think so.
Okay. Go back to your report.
Oh, really? Banging noise is heard again? PBS paused the channel. I don't know why.
So in this report, report, you say that the measurements of phone number,
Just like on the phone.
I'll move it up here. So your report says, you can come over the stage.
More
if you
banging
want.
noise.
That these two phones, 9807 and 9081, are
Maybe,
in the area of
maybe,
the crime.
maybe that's them. You need to send more ships down there if they're hearing it again. Rescue crews search for the submersible. Heard more underwater banging noises on Wednesday, according to authorities, who conceded they still have no idea what the sounds are. Come on! The ocean is very complex. It says 6 hours and 30 minutes.
Correct?
Does it say consistent with, or could you, what's the,
Your language is cellular measurements are consistent with, yes, the two phones being in the area of the crime scene.
yes,
All right. But is it not true that they could also be over here?
yes,
And could 9807 be over here? And 9081 be over here?
yes.
Could it be over here?
I don't think so, yes, yes,
Or right here?
yes,
And again, this is an estimate because it could just be pinging to the tower with the best signal, correct?
no, because this is from the engineering report.
Okay. So, page 14 of your report, you say that phone number 9807 is within this area, correct?
Yes,
But would you agree it's not actually touching any of the points of interest?
at that time,
Yes.
yes. If you find points of interest, if you mean the locations that were highlighted earlier in the presentation, yes, it's not overlapping the Montessori Academy or any other place at that time.
Okay, let's turn to page 16 of your report. So does this show phone number ending in 9081 near the hospital?
Yes, that's consistent with the phone being at the hospital.
But this science is not actually precise enough to pinpoint the location of the phone, correct?
Correct.
So while you say it's consistent with it being at the hospital, you actually don't know that, do you?
From the cellular data alone, no.
Right. Go to 17. Here you've mapped again the data for 9807. And again, would you agree that this macaroni does not touch any of the points of interest?
Yes,
Well, the countdown thing is at 6 hours left, so whenever I go to bed, we're gonna wake up and the time's gonna be over.
Can you explain what this means? Can you see that?
340, the text box that you're pointing
Yeah,
to?
yes.
Yes, so that means that there were multiple data points on that tower and sector between 3:43 a.m. and 3:52 a.m.
Okay, so 3:43 to 3:52 a.m., that phone number was pinging off of this tower.
So it's from the engineering reports, and that tower saw the phone multiple times between 3:43 and 3:52.
Okay, so let's go over here, and what's this mean?
The same thing. All these cell sites that are shown are from the protocol measurement data from Sprint's engineering reports, and those towers in that sector on that tower saw the phone at whatever times indicated.
Do you know the difference from this point to this point?
I'd imagine it's a couple miles.
So, from this report, we're showing that there's a couple
Thank
miles
you, Carly.
difference, but the phone is pinging over here at 3:49, but according to your report, between 3:43 and 3:52, it's pinging here. And what does this one mean right here?
348.
What's my next notification?
So it's
Damn.
pinging from this tower at 3:48.
That tower saw the phone.
16 hours.
And then down here,
350.
so again, back here, between 3:43 to 3:52, it was pinging off of this tower. But at 3:50, it was down here.
No. The phone wasn't down there. It wasn't up here. The phone wasn't in any of those places. That's not what the data says. The data is saying that these towers at those times saw the phone. This is all from the engineering reports, which means that the towers, these towers that see them, are not necessarily the tower with the very strongest signal. It's not necessarily the serving cell that saw it. If we had distance information at these times, we'd see like a band, just like we did on the T-Mobile record. So for instance, at this one, 349, we'd see a distance, whether it's a number like this or like this, whatever. The distance column on that engineering report for all these data points was blank. We don't have distance. So we know that these towers saw the phone. And we know that they were not necessarily the serving cell. It could have been. Anyone who could have been, but we don't know that. And we don't have any calls on the call detail records to, to cross-check and say, okay, well, which tower did the phone reach out to that needed a call? So we're left with the question then is, well, what's this mean? Because as you were just asking, as we were just talking about, 349 falls between 343 and 352. How could two towers in two completely different areas both see the phone? Well, they both did see the phone at different times because they registered that connection with the phone. So if you ask me what's my opinion, what's that mean? It's like, well, the phone was someplace where all these towers could see it. And I note that this one is pointed generally west, this one's pointed west-southwest, this one's pointed southeast, this is northeast, this is this way. So my conclusion would be that this data, which it's hard to form a conclusion from because you don't have I don't have the distance information I want. It's not going to say, okay, the phone is, generally it's in Miramar. We know that, right? It's not in Fort Lauderdale or Miami. It's probably somewhere in the middle of all these towers. So if I'm asked a specific question, like, hey, is this consistent with the phone being in Silver Lakes? I would say yes. Is it consistent with the phone being in McDonald's? Yes. I mean, this is a...
So it could be anywhere in Miramar, basically.
I don't think it could be anywhere in Miramar. I think it could be anywhere kind of in this map area. I think it's a fair statement.
Okay. At any given time as well, correct? Because I just, for the sake of my knowledge, when we look at this item that says 343 to 352, so I know it's hitting that tower throughout that time, right? But it's then also hitting this other tower at the exact same time, and 30 seconds it's hitting this other tower. Is that a fair statement?
The network's hitting the phone. The phone isn't hitting the network, but yes.
Okay, and then how far can a phone go? Is it 1 mile? Could it be between 1 mile and 20 miles? Or could a phone ping off a tower that's 50 miles away? Do you have any background on that?
Yeah, so it depends kind of what you're asking. If you're asking how far away can a phone be from a tower when it makes a call?
Thank you, Kitty. I appreciate that.
That depends. If you're asking how far away can a tower see a phone, which is a different thing, because the phone,
This is the
choosing towers
defense.
can rely on the phone's clear strong
This is the cross-examination.
signal, and that also depends. Generally, I see something in the range of like a couple miles, but I've seen in extreme cases many miles that a tower can see a phone.
Okay. So even with this is, again, based on that,
Yep.
any area could be in this ping.
To try and make a conclusion about a precise location for a phone on this data is I don't think possible based on this data.
So wouldn't it be more accurate just to show a range of where it could be at rather than trying to do these curves and pinpoint the precision?
What do you mean?
I mean, you would agree with
Carly,
me
I
that there are
appreciate
some
that. I know.
unknowns. Even though we're talking about the speed of light static, we don't know what T-Mobile's using. Are they rounding up to the 3, or are they actually keeping the right number, correct?
Well, regardless of what they're doing, they're giving us a distance, and that's the distance that's plotted. So we plot the distance, applying the records that T-Mobile gave us, not saying, okay, the phone's here in this bubble or something like that. Or saying, hey, this is what the records show.
Well, it seems like you're giving testimony that it's precise, but when we get through the data, how it's used, that it's actually really just an estimate. So is it precise, or is this an estimate that you're giving us?
I guess it's not an estimate like hey, just some number that's made up, just a ballpark, hey, out of 10,000 or something like that. But if you're asking, about really the accuracy, not the precision, because that number, like if it's the number is 0.54 miles, that's a precise number, right? That's down to hundreds of a mile. You're asking how accurate is that number? We'll say, okay, generally that's accurate. And that's why with my testimony, even when I have a precise number, like 0.54 miles from a tower, I still say it's consistent with it being in this location, where it's generally in the area of this apartment complex or something, because the possibility they may not be precisely there.
So based on that map, could it be possible that you had 2 phones registered to the same person on the same carrier being operated by 2 different people who were sitting next to each other? Can those 2 phones ping off different towers?
When you say hang off towers, are you talking about the engineering report?
Yeah, the engineering report.
Could different towers see those phones?
Yeah, so
Yes.
we're both sitting in the car here.
Yep.
Is it possible that it's pinging off to here and then the other person's phone is pinging here?
Yes.
Well, they're next to each other.
Yes.
All right. Can you tell if this phone's in somebody's pocket?
No.
Can you tell if it's left on the car seat?
No.
Done with this.
Can you tell who had the phone?
No.
Okay. No further questions.
Good. All right, let's skip to there's one small timestamp. It's believed that a fart occurred at this moment. Let's see, 7-11, 20. This is the highlight of the day. I don't see what people are saying. This is like the trial of the century. I mean, I don't see it. I'm sorry. It could pick up, but I'm just gonna say right now, especially after seeing this highlight, I'm not covering this trial anymore. The only thing I'll do is if there's like a crazy witness one day that comes on, we'll cover that witness and that's it. But I'm not gonna spend time doing this shit. I just think there's other stuff we can do. There's other trials coming up. I'm so glad I didn't sit through this today. It would have been torture. Sometimes I sit through things because we're hoping there's good stuff that pops up. There's no way in hell. I'm sorry. This is amazing. Oh my God, I can't believe it. Ah, my God, it's so crazy. All right, the fart is 7-11. Let me see, 7-11. This is riveting. Oh my God. Oh, it was spicy. Ooh. 7-11. All right, let's see if there's a fart here. But the purpose of the stream was to hear the fart. That's it. 7-11-24.
With how the software was set up. And so as an analyst, I would go back and see what the issue was and then rerun this deconvolution and redo the calculation.
Oh, no, snoring. I don't know why I said fart. She said snoring. And I actually do think I hear somebody snoring.
The issue was, and then rerun this deconvolution.
Nobody's sleeping.
I would go back and see what the issue was and then rerun this deconvolution and redo the calculations. In this particular case, after doing a visual comparison of the standards to the mixture, this deconvolution.
It sounds like somebody is snoring, unless they just fell asleep. Not fell asleep, I mean, unless they're just breathing hard. 7:30. This was the time this was done. Kind of weird. Maybe you meant to 8:17. I don't even. Was this good to cross at all or no? I'm already done with this shit. It's just fucking lame as hell, bro. Endure. We want you to endure. 7-11 or 7:30, I guess. There's a DNA guy. Was this cross good or is this lame? We're just gonna cut our ties, cut our losses, and move on, yo. I'm gonna drag this shit out for weeks and stuff. Yeah, fuck that. I'm done. I'm actually done. We're good. I don't need to drag this out anymore. All right, so what I'm gonna do is for tomorrow. So the countdown is at 6 hours, man. See, do I have the countdown thing here? To show you guys, which it's almost kind of somewhat ridiculous. I don't really know if they have that much oxygen in there, or I don't know. I mean, they said there's more banging. I don't know. So I think tomorrow let's look into the submarine stuff. There's also the Corey Richens thing that I meant to do too. So we'll do it one of these days. I'm done with this. Sorry, I don't care what anybody says. This is at a certain point. And I don't want to drag you guys through something either, because if I'm not feeling it, somebody was telling me this today, it's clear that I'm not feeling it. It's on my face. I don't want to drag people through something I'm not into, just because. They didn't test the DNA until 3 years after. Damn, his arrest. The DNA part was the craziest part. All right, Mo, fine. All right. Oh, it's only like, how long is that? 17 minutes, maybe? All right, Mo.
John, thank you. Good to see you. Witness remains on stand. Counsel, this is your opportunity for cross-examination.
What is the cross-examination of the DNA guy?
Thank you. I'm going to say good evening to you. Yes, I feel like it's nighttime. By any chance, do you know George Bellow?
He is the unit supervisor for the firearms section.
Yeah. He gave us an education on firearms, and you've now given us an education on DNA. So he said he would give us some type of certificate. So I expect you also to get some type of certificate on DNA. But in any event, when did you perform your first DNA testing?
May I heard my notes?
Absolutely. Feel free at any time.
My initial examination of the first evidence was on January 23 of 2019.
2019.
Correct.
And that's when you analyzed or examined various items that came out of a grade G. That was water bottle, some sneakers, I think, a yellow jacket, a Gatorade bottle, item 27, I think you identified.
For this particular date, it was items 16 through 25.
16 through 25, okay. On 123 of 19, you examined a water bottle, a spent casing, Gucci sandals, and a blood stain on front of a t-shirt and a blood stain on the rear of the t-shirt. And also a blood stain on an Air Jordan sneaker, correct?
That's correct.
That turned out not to come back to this young man right over here, correct? Mr. Denver. I'm going to call him Jamel, the t-shirt. Okay, is that correct?
At this time or later?
Later.
Later. May I refer to my report?
Absolutely. And give us a date that you did that, please.
So on January 25th of 2022 is when the comparisons were made to Mr. Devins, and he was excluded from all those items.
That was January of what?
The report was issued on January 25th of 2022.
I'm sorry.
I did my analysis on January 24th, the day before.
Okay. That was approximately 3 years after he was arrested.
Oh, shit.
Did you know that?
I did not.
Damn. He is.
Then you analyzed, did you not, item 26, a yellow jacket, a Gatorade bottle, correct?
Yes, that's right.
And what date did you examine those items?
That was on August 24th of 2021.
August 24th, you said?
Correct.
Of 21. That was 2 years approximately after he was arrested. Did you know that?
I did not.
And those came from inside the Jeep. Did you know that?
I did not.
And those did not match YNW, correct?
That's correct. He was excluded.
Then you received some additional items, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
What was the date that you received the additional items?
You didn't miss nothing, Tina. Don't worry.
They were received on multiple days.
Okay, give us the first date you received additional items, please.
I began processing the unpacked filter on January 5th of 2022.
That was approximately 3 years after his arrest.
The cutting of the headliner, which is item 34,
When did you receive that?
began processing on January 28th of 2022.
Also about 3 years after his arrest.
Objection, counsel testifying.
I thought it was a question. Restate it. Restate your
Did
question.
you know it was approximately 3 years after he was arrested?
I did not. Additional items were submitted.
I have a chase.
These were items 40, 41, and 42. Those were processed on April 25th of 2023.
April 25th of 23?
That's right.
Did you know that was after we started this
Objection, Your
trial?
Honor, improper.
Excuse me. Watch himself.
Hey, I'll do this shit 2-3 years later. Wow. That might be a chase. Too bad we used our notification, but
Sir, did you know that when you received the blood stain on the headliner, that was after this trial started?
I did not know.
But you started that in April 25th of 23,
okay.
just 2 months ago?
The headliner was, that was prior.
Oh, I'm sorry. The item that you received on April of 23 was what?
Those were the contact swab, non-blood area of rear driver seat, the blood swab of smear from rear of driver seat, and the contact swab of front of driver side door handle interior.
Okay. And you did not know that was after this trial started, correct?
I did not know.
And none of that came back to the DNA of this young man, YNW, correct?
Correct. It was deemed uninterpretable, as well as one of the items I did not attempt to generate a DNA profile because there was insufficient amount of DNA.
Do you know what the delay was in sending that evidence to you?
Objection, outside the scope. Speculation.
And did you receive any other items in 2023?
Yes, one last item 43.
And that was the door handle of the rear door? Is that correct?
Correct.
And did I hear you correctly that you first ran a test and it did not come back matching or belonging to or contributor to YNW?
That's right.
And did I also hear you correctly then we discussed something about your software with your supervisor?
With the technical data, yes.
And then ran another test and had a 3-person contributor?
That's right.
And all of a sudden it matched or it was labeled as YNW may have been a contributor?
That's right.
What date was that, sir?
That was on June 1st, 2023.
Approximately 3 weeks ago?
That's right.
Objection.
Who requested that,
Objection, Your
if you
Honor.
know?
Or suggestion?
Speculation, outside the scope.
As far as outside the scope's over, if he knows, he can answer.
Who submitted that item to you 3 weeks ago?
It would have been Miramar, the investigators.
Miramar Police Department?
Yes, I can look at my.
Feel free.
It was submitted by a Miramar investigator. Mark Moretti.
Moretti.
Who was listed on the submission form.
And that was the only item that supposedly matched DeMel's DNA, correct?
I believe so. I can look back just to confirm it.
Please do.
But I do believe that is an accurate assessment. Yes, there was no item with the inclusionary likelihood issue.
Could you tell these folks when that DNA was placed on, supposedly, on the door handle?
No.
But they found DNA on the door handle, they're saying? Of the car? Let's see. This DNA was only found on the door of the driver's side. Back door. Which we know he was there at some point. But it was only found after they retested it 20 days ago. Wow. Bruh. I mean, for a death penalty trial, it seems like the case is kind of weak.
It could have been placed a week.
Objection, speculation.
Sustained.
How long can DNA stay on an item?
The DNA can persist on items. Again, as I mentioned, heat, light, moisture can cause it to degrade or become unusable. If DNA is deposited on the surface, it can last weeks, months, years, if kept in a nice, cool, dry environment.
Do you know this Jeep was stored in police custody in a safe, dry area?
I do not.
May I have one other question? One other moment, excuse me. Thank you very much.
Is there any regrets?
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Rhodes, is it unusual to receive multiple submissions over the life of a case?
No, it's not needed.
Does the date in which you work a particular item have any effect on the results you report on?
No, it is not.
As to the likelihood ratio on item number 43, who is included in that particular item?
For both propositions, Mr. Thomas was included for both the two-person and three-person contributor propositions. Under the two-person proposition, Mr. Henry, Mr. Williams, and Mr. Dimmons were excluded. Under the three-person proposition, Mr. Thomas, Mr. Williams, and Mr. Dimmons were included.
And with regards to the time of collection of that swab, would that be indicated on the box that it is found in?
Sometimes there are indications on the collection. I can look at the prior receipt. It may, I'm not sure if it's a newer one or an older one. I can look at the prior receipt if you like.
Okay, and that would be item number 67, what's been put into evidence as case 33. No latest or not?
Yeah, thanks.
And so item 33 in evidence, is that item number 67 and you're labeling here?
Yes, that's right.
What was the date and time of collection according to that specific item?
So it's dated at 10/26 of 2018,
And the time?
1736.
Okay. If DNA is stored in an optical environment, will it persist forever?
I'm not sure about forever, but it will persist for decades.
And in terms of if it is collected on a cotton swab that is dry and sterile, is that a ideal place to perpetuate DNA storage?
Yes.
Nothing further.
I have one or two questions based on that, if the court will allow me.
Sure, go ahead.
You indicated it's not unusual to get multiple submissions of evidence.
Yes, sir.
Do you know why it took 5 years to submit that exhibit to you to analyze?
Objection, Your Honor, speculation.
He knows he can answer, you know?
I do.
Thank you.
Counsel, any else?
No.
Is he excused?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Counsel, you're excused.
All right. That's what you guys missed today, okay? I was watching a little bit. I'm not interested at all. I'm actually even less interested. I saw some things before that I thought maybe it would be good to cover this, but now that I'm seeing it, I still might do the affidavit, and only if there's some sort of special witness or like the closing arguments, whatever, closing statement. Maybe we'll watch that. But I'm not definitely not gonna do this trial like daily. Hell no. Hell to the no. Hell to the no. By the way, Annie got her account back.
Time running out for the missing.
Annie got her account back. Texted me earlier. So she's good. I need to work on this affidavit. It's probably going to be too late by the time I do it, though. It's already old news, I guess. The affidavit. Harmony. I still want to know what happened. Bum, 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 bum. Let's listen to this real quick and then we'll head out. Yeah, I don't want to do this anymore. This type of stream like this with this trial shit. It's too fucking. And it was just an hour. Imagine sitting all day.
Deep sea sub and the 5 people on board. There's less than 12 hours now of oxygen left. Hopes grew after sonar buoys picked up sounds yesterday and again this morning, but so far a search of the area has come up empty. The Titan began its dive on Sunday, bound for the wreckage of the Titanic 2 miles below the surface.
I agree, Britt. Focus.
It sent its last signal less than 2 hours later. A fleet of aircraft and ships from the U.S. and Canada probing an area roughly twice the size of Connecticut, above and below the water. And more are on the way, including a French ship carrying a deep-sea robot equipped with a camera and arms that could reach the Titanic and free the sub if it's stuck. But even if that robot finds it, it doesn't have the power to lift it to the surface. Still, despite the challenges, tonight's search and rescue crews remain focused on the mission.
I mean, it could be a possibility it's stuck down there, like the other thing we watched where the other guy was stuck. By the Titanic, that's a possibility. Maybe, I mean, they lost contact halfway down, and I don't know. Oh, it just doesn't make sense. I don't know. They had those safety features though.
ABC's Gio Benitez leads us off in Halifax, Nova Scotia, again tonight.
Tonight, rescuers are running out of time and options to save the crew of the missing Titan submersible. Those 5 passengers trapped inside could have just under 12 hours of breathable air left.
This is a search and rescue mission, 100%. We'll continue to put
To generate heat. And
that 22-foot-long capsule in the dark with temperatures below freezing.
your body will start shivering to generate heat, and that will use up more oxygen. So that's not a good thing.
The sub is the only passenger vessel in the world capable of taking a group that size to the Titanic, 2.4 miles underwater. Mike Reese was on that trip just last year.
It is always in the back of your head that this is dangerous and any small problem will turn into a major catastrophe.
The crew on Titan expeditions is locked in from the outside with 17 bolts with no escape hatch. Seen here in this CBS Sunday Morning profile on Ocean Gate and its founder, Stockton Rush.
Copy that.
You guys said chase. The person crashed, foot bailed. I think it's over already. Female running took her wig off. Oh, shit. Oh, can we see a glimpse of that? CBS Live 10 seconds ago. Let's see. It's already over, but.
Mike, but it appears that he was driving a Tesla very, very fast, and you see a number of officers. This is going to be code.
Is that a woman or a guy?
In just a second as they get that suspect.
Oh, he had a wig on though.
Of the ground. There's the video that we had earlier of that car. I think we might have the crash there. There it goes. Loses control a little bit before.
Oh, geez, what a nut job.
1, 2, 3. cars parked on the side of the road, plus that truck. So 4 vehicles. We're going to see
Who's
him
pretending to
pop
be a
out.
woman?
There he is. You see all the airbags
Oh
have been
shit!
deployed.
Running with the wig.
Quite a crash there, an impact onto 4 different vehicles. Doesn't appear to be injured, but maybe running on adrenaline and getting around the corner there, but not too far, Mike, before they were able to corral him. And this is back to live picture.
Yeah, Jeff, you know, I was saying, man, this may be a woman, actually. I'm trying to sort that out now, but you see those two officers with the kind of plain clothes, but they have their vests on. Those, to me, look like they're probably detectives. So, you know, like I said, we had a detective commander here that was in charge of this pursuit. So this may be, while it is a stolen vehicle, this may be something more that they're wanting for. It looks like that detective there is going to pick up maybe a wig that was the suspect was wearing that ended up on the floor. But yeah, very violent crash right there on Normandy as he went through 2nd Street there, Jeff.
Amazing.
And really put on the brakes at that point in time to get between those 2 cars and then hit it. We know the Tesla's obviously a lot of acceleration and just seemed to accelerate out of control. Like they didn't have any handling at all of the vehicle.
What you were doing?
Again, it looks like 4 parked cars were impacted there. The driver,
could be a woman.
now a woman getting out. You see this on the right-hand part of your screen. Run from police
And why take the wig with you?
with something in her hand. Again, this is a stolen vehicle, and this is LAPD in pursuit, and their chopper overhead, as well as our chopper, of course. As we're taking a live picture, on the left is the suspect already.
Oh, wait, maybe that's not a wig. I don't know what that is.
Against a wall, you can see there. Soon to be going to jail. So we'll continue to follow this story on KCAL News, and we'll bring you the very latest coming up in just about an hour on KCAL News at 8 o'clock. For Mike Rogers on the assignment desk, I'm Jeff Vaughn. We'll send you back to regular programming.
All right, I'm out of here. If there's a chase, I'll come back. If I'm not sleeping, I'll come back. We'll see what tomorrow brings. I'd like to do an update with the sub thing. By the time we sleep and we wake up, the time's going to run out. Unless I wake up tomorrow. Unless I wake up in the middle of the night. But yeah, I'm going to head out. Just relax. All right, guys, man. Have a good night. Thank you for hanging out with me. I know it was kind of rough. Some weeks be pricey. But thank you for hanging out with me, and we'll figure it all out. All right. Thank you. Good night. Bye. Adios. Bloop, 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 bloop.